The 10th day of my Cold War with Song Yuan was also the 3rd anniversary of our relationship. I saw a new post on his social media, a passionate lip-lock photo with his first love, Suyue. Seeing the tender look in Song Yuan's eyes as he gazed at her, my heart suddenly felt light. Silently, I clicked the submit button for my study abroad application. The words, "Application submitted successfully," appeared on the screen, and my emotions churned in a chaotic mess. Just then, my friend arrived with a custom-ordered birthday cake. She touched my forehead, relieved to find my fever had subsided. Then her eyes glanced at my computer screen, spotting my study abroad application, and she exclaimed in surprise, "Has Song Yuan agreed to go abroad with you?" "I told you, you two love each other so much, and you're about to get married." I shook my head slightly. Under her astonished gaze, I calmly said, "I only applied for myself. I'm going alone." My friend froze, looking at me as if I were a stranger. It made sense. After 3 years with Song Yuan, I had always put him first. Anything he didn't like, I avoided at all costs. Looking at the cake in her hands, I hesitated for a few seconds before deciding to take it. It was time for Song Yuan and me to have a proper ending. As I prepared to leave, my friend seemed about to say something, but held back. Finally, she sighed softly and reminded me, "Remember to wear an extra layer. It's cold out, and you just recovered from being sick." I smiled lightly and nodded. I pulled my jacket tighter, grabbed the cake, and slowly walked towards Song Yuan's dormitory. Halfway there, a giggling child ran into me, knocking the cake out of my hands. I couldn't react in time, and the cake fell to the ground, spilling out of its box. The child froze for a moment, then stuck out their tongue to tease me before darting into the crowd. Staring at the shattered cake on the ground, I suddenly felt a wave of self-pity. Out of habit, I pulled out my phone, intending to call Song Yuan. But as I searched for his number, I caught sight of him in the bustling crowd. Next to him was a girl in a long white dress. She had some resemblance to me, but her features were softer and more delicate. With just one glance, I recognized her. The girl Song Yuan had always kept in his heart, Suyue. She held an ice cream cone, her cheeks flushing at something he said. She shyly lowered her head. Song Yuan gently reached out, his eyes so tender they could melt, tucking a stray lock of hair behind her ear. Then he leaned down and kissed her forehead. In that moment, my world seemed to freeze. I could only stand still, silently watching as Song Yuan and Suyue's figures faded into the crowd. A sharp pain, like needles piercing my chest, spread through me. Tears I could no longer hold back fell, mixing with the broken cake on the ground. Under the surprised gazes of passersby, I cried and trembled as I picked up the pieces, placing them back into the box. Someone couldn't help but speak up. "Hey, the cake's all smashed. There's no eating it now. If you want one, just buy another." I met Song Yuan again a few days later, at the graduation party. Standing outside the VIP room, I saw him holding Suyue tightly, his eyes brimming with love as he looked at her. Friends around them laughed and chatted, endlessly praising the two as a perfect match, destined for each other. Song Yuan's smile grew brighter. A moment later, Suyue stood up, saying she wanted to freshen up her makeup in the restroom. I immediately turned, pretending to be a stranger passing by. Inside the room, as soon as she left, a friend hesitated and asked, "Now that Yue's back, what about Bui Yin? She loved you so much, and weren't you two about to get married?" Song Yuan smirked, his tone indifferent. "Love? She was just a substitute? Can't you see how much Bui Yin resembles Yue? Now that Yue's back, naturally the bride's spot has to change." Those words hit me like a bucket of ice water, leaving me cold and trembling uncontrollably. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms, the pain helping me cling to my sanity. Amid the mocking laughter of Song Yuan's friends, another chimed in. "By the way, is Bui Yin coming today? Song Yuan, you're something else. Handling a 3-year girlfriend and a first love, juggling both without fearing trouble." Song Yuan laughed, pretending to be offended with a few curses, then straightened his face. "Don't call Yue by her full name like that. Show some respect. Call her sister-in-law." The group burst into laughter, someone patting Song Yuan's shoulder in approval. He took a slow drag from his cigarette, his voice low but firm. "Bui Yin won't make a fuss. She loves me beyond reason. 3 years together, she always put me first. never went against me. 10 days ago, she got an acceptance letter from Stanford, but chose to give it up for me. She hoped I'd go with her, and I considered it. Could have been closer to Yue. But then Yue came back, even sought me out. At that, his smile faltered, as if recalling something. As for me, my heart had gone numb, no longer feeling the pain. Suddenly, I remembered that day, the same day he posted the kissing photo with Su Weiwei. That day, he angrily accused me of not considering him, doing things without consulting him. Despite my explanations that it was a family decision, he ignored me, leaving me alone on that empty street. It turned out it was all an excuse to abandon me. He knew everything. Only I was foolish enough to think he was genuinely upset. Even while gravely ill, I humbled myself to find him. Silently, I watched Song Yuan among the crowd, his eyes overflowing with tenderness and love when speaking of Su Yuiwei, emotions I'd never received. Song Yuan took a deep breath, flicked his cigarette into the ashtray, his gaze resolute. This time, I'll never let Yue go. Then he looked around, saying to his friends, "Someone call Bu Yin, tell her not to come. Say I'm busy, ask her to go home and make soup for me. She loves me so much, she'll do it. Also, don't mention Bu Yin in front of Yue. I don't want her to misunderstand." Seeing this unfamiliar Song Yuan, I recalled 3 years ago. The first time I met him, he was still so innocent. His face flushed as he approached me, fingers nervously clutching his shirt, his voice hesitant. Can we be friends?" Amid his friends' teasing, I couldn't help but blush too. With Song Yuan's persistent pursuit, I gradually fell for this gentle boy. His family wasn't well off, and my parents disapproved of us dating. But when he learned of it, he wasn't angry. Instead, he gently comforted me. "Your parents just want the best for you. Their worry is normal. I'm not capable enough yet to give you a comfortable life." To win my parents' approval, he treated me exceptionally well. Rain or shine, he prepared breakfast for me every morning. He worked multiple part-time jobs just to buy me the bags and jewelry I liked. Once, as we passed a dark alley, a few drunk thugs blocked the entrance. Seeing me, their eyes lit up. Song Yuan quickly pulled me into his arms, trying to lead me away, but they blocked us. One sneered, "They say even husband and wife are birds of the same forest, flying apart in trouble. I just want to chat with this girl. Nothing more." Song Yuan didn't let go, shielding me behind him, enduring their punches and kicks. I cried, begging him to run, but he looked at me, his gaze firm. "I won't let go of you." When the police arrived, Song Yuan had fainted, still holding me tightly. After that, my parents finally accepted him. Song Yuan always treated me well, but his eyes toward me were always clear and composed. Even in our most intimate moments, his gaze remained strangely calm. He often pushed me away, gently saying, "Yin Yin, wait until we're married. No rush." Back then, I didn't understand. I thought he was principled and self-controlled. But when I heard him talk about his past with Su Yue, seeing that loving gaze, I understood everything. Amid his friends' questions, his contemptuous voice rang in my ears. I never touched Bu Yin. In this life, I've only had one woman, Yue. Bu Yin looks a lot like Yue. I even made her grow her hair long, wear dresses she liked. But no matter how similar, I had to stay true to Yue. The girl he loved had long, silky black hair, always wearing flowing white dresses. It wasn't hard to see why all the clothes he gave me were long, light-colored dresses, or why, when he brushed my hair, his eyes held regret and calm. Now I understood. The affection Song Yuan had for me was only because I resembled Su Yue. I pushed open the VIP room door. Everyone fell silent. The air grew heavy. Song Yuan looked at me, impatience flashing in his eyes. I broke the awkward silence with a smile. "I've been listening outside for a while. I'm not embarrassed, so why are you all tense?" At that, a flicker of panic crossed Song Yuan's eyes. He opened his mouth to speak. As he prepared to respond, the room, including me, held its breath. Just then, Su Yue pushed the door open, fluttering into Song Yuan's arms like a butterfly. Instinctively, he hugged her, chiding her affectionately. "You're all grown up and still so careless. What if you fell?" Su Yue giggled. "Aren't you here for me?" Hearing that, Song Yuan's smile widened and he playfully pinched her nose. The sight made my blood run cold. I'd prepared myself for the fact that he didn't love me. But witnessing their sweetness firsthand still hurt. The pain intensified when I noticed the sparkling diamond ring on Su Yue's ring finger. That ring, dubbed the true love ring, a once-in-a-lifetime custom piece. I'd seen it in Song Yuan's jacket pocket before. Back then, I naively thought it was for me. But on our engagement day, the ring he presented was a plain, simple pair. Seeing those cheap rings, my parents' faces darkened. Yet I didn't complain. Because Song Yuan said he'd made them himself. I even reassured my parents, saying it was just an engagement ring. I'd seen the custom wedding ring he'd ordered for me. But I never imagined that ring was now on Su Yui's finger. The humiliation surged, nearly suffocating me. The ring on my hand now felt like a burning iron, searing my heart. Recalling my joyful self back then, I felt pitifully laughable. At that thought, tears nearly escaped. Just then, Su Yui noticed me. A flicker of surprise crossed her eyes. She pointed at me, asking Song Yuan, "A Yuan? Who's this girl? A friend of yours?" At her question, Song Yuan hesitated, instinctively replying, "No, not a friend." Su Yui tilted her head, curious. "Then if not a friend, who is she?" Sweat beaded on Song Yuan's forehead. His gaze toward me turned cold and accusatory. I knew he blamed me for showing up, putting him in a spot to explain to Su Yui. My heart filled with bitterness. But a second later, his words plunged me into an endless abyss. Song Yuan said firmly, "She's my brother's girlfriend, here to find him." The guy nearby quickly chimed in, Yeah, my girlfriend. I stood frozen. Song Yuan's eyes held a warning, crushing my last illusions. Su Yui, oblivious to the tension, tilted her head and said, "But they don't look like a couple. A Yuan, you're not lying to me, are you? She's looking at you kind of oddly." Song Yuan hurriedly said, "What's odd about it? You're overthinking again. What would it take for you to believe me?" Su Yui laughed innocently. "Simple. Tell them to kiss." I said nothing, just silently looked at Song Yuan. He paused for a moment. Then with chilling calm, he said, "Fine, kiss each other." Hearing that, my heart died. I removed the plain ring from my finger, throwing it at Song Yuan. Tears I could no longer hold back streamed down my face. I raised my hand and slapped him hard. My voice trembled, each word dripping with despair. "Song Yuan, you're a bastard." With that, I turned and left. The cold night wind made me shiver. The chill cleared my mind slightly. Somehow, I found myself at the apartment Song Yuan and I once shared. After a year together, I'd moved out of the dorm to live with him. It was because he started interning, and the dorm had a curfew. I feared he'd overwork himself, so I moved in. 3 months ago, he said he'd move back to the dorm for lab work. I couldn't bear to be apart, so I returned to campus too. With graduation nearing, we were both busy. It had been 3 months since we last visited this place. I meant to leave, but for some reason, I couldn't resist opening the door and stepping inside. The room was still clean. A faint smell of cigarette smoke lingered, traces of life still present. Revisiting 3 years of memories, my heart ached. But then, I noticed something off. We'd moved back to the dorms long ago, yet the apartment showed signs of recent occupancy. My eyes scanned the balcony where women's underwear hung, styles I'd never worn or liked. My fingers trembled as a horrifying truth dawned. Panicking, I rushed to the bedroom, flinging the door open. All my belongings were gone, replaced by items belonging to another woman. On the nightstand was a photo of Song Yuan and Su Yui. My legs gave out, and I collapsed to the floor. They'd been together all along, openly living as a couple. My gaze fell on the trash bin. Inside were used condoms. Tears I couldn't hold back fell silently to the floor. I don't know how long I sat there, until the door swung open and a weary Song Yuan stepped in. Seeing me, he frowned, clearly annoyed. "What are you doing here?" I laughed mockingly. "Song Yuan, why can't I be here?" If I hadn't come, I wouldn't have known someone else had openly moved into this place. If I hadn't shown up, I wouldn't have realized I was just a substitute. Song Yuan sighed, rubbing his temples, his tone reluctant. Yui's family had issues. She's got no one else but me. She's not well. I don't want to upset her. I hope you can understand. Yui means everything to me. I can't let anything happen to her. Do you know how awkward you made things for me today? Buyin, I'm exhausted. Can't you be good and stop troubling me? In the past, when Song Yuan acted tired like this, I couldn't stay mad. But now, seeing him, I found it laughable. I laughed, my words sharp as knives. You didn't want to upset her, so you took her to bed? Don't you find it disgusting? His response was a slap across my face. My cheek burned, my head spun, nearly knocking me over. He seemed to regret it, reaching to steady me. But just then, his phone rang. Suyue's choked voice came through. Yuan, I had a nightmare. I'm scared. Can you come get me? Song Yuan's eyes softened instantly, his tone gentle. Okay, don't be scared. I'm on my way. With that, he turned to leave. Before going, he glanced at me, his voice calm. Buyin, go home. I'm afraid if Yue sees you, her mood will worsen. Wait till she's calm, and I'll explain to you later. Okay? I watched his retreating back, smirking faintly. There'd be no later, Song Yuan. A week later, I boarded a flight to California. Before leaving, I deleted all photos of Song Yuan, erased mutual friends' contacts, and shredded every memory I once cherished. Then I blocked him and cut up my SIM card. Life at Stanford was busy and fulfilling. Time gradually healed my old wounds. I thought I'd never see Song Yuan again. But the world is small. The next time I saw him was after my parents' golden wedding anniversary at a mall near my home. His eyes lit up upon seeing me, and he rushed over excitedly. Yin Yin. I looked at Song Yuan. He wore a tailored suit and rimless glasses, more mature and composed than before. The innocence of 3 years ago was gone. But standing before me, he grew awkward, hands nervously clutching his shirt, like our first meeting. Sadly, time had passed, and everything had changed. I wasn't that girl who loved him wholeheartedly anymore. I smiled and nodded. Long time no see, Song Yuan. His eyes reddened, his voice choked as he reached for my hand. I instinctively pulled back. His expression showed hurt. His tone softened, tinged with urgency. Yin Yin, I've been looking for you for so long. I only knew you were in California at Stanford, but no one would tell me your department or where you lived. 6 years. Do you know how much I've missed you? Hearing those words stirred something in me. Not for him, but for the naive girl I once was. That foolish girl who gave her heart to Song Yuan, blind to his lack of care. If he truly cared, wouldn't he know my department, my dorm? All my friends knew. Only I didn't see this harsh truth. I sighed, looking away. Sorry, I have things to do. I'll go now. Song Yuan panicked. He seized the chance, asking anxiously, Yin Yin, where are you going? I looked at him calmly. Memories of his cruel words 6 years ago echoed in my mind. The bitterness remained, but it no longer hurt. I smirked. Song Yuan, we're no longer connected. Why aren't you with your Suyue? Why seek me out? At her name, Song Yuan's face paled. He tried to speak, but before he could, a man appeared beside me. He naturally wrapped an arm around my waist, holding children's items. Song Yuan's eyes widened, his face turning ghostly pale. His voice trembled. Yin Yin, who is he? I said softly, let me introduce you, my husband Shen Wen. Song Yuan shuddered. He stared at me in shock, eyes red, as if unwilling to believe it. You're lying to me, right? You loved me so much. How could you marry someone else? You're just mad at me, saying this to hurt me, aren't you? I sighed helplessly. Song Yuan, do I need to show you our marriage certificate to convince you? He shook his head repeatedly, his eyes desperate. Seeing his expression, I felt disgust. Not wanting to linger, I took Shen Wen's hand to leave. But Song Yuan's voice followed, pleading, Yin Yin, stop messing around. Come back to me, please. Shen Wen's face darkened, losing patience with his persistence. He pulled a red booklet from his pocket, opening it to show Song Yuan. Our marriage certificate. Song Yuan stared, his face growing paler. He panicked, looking at me. Yin Yin, didn't you love me the most? How could you marry someone else? I lowered my eyes, unwilling to spare him another glance. But Song Yuan wouldn't give up. He reached to grab me, but Shen Wen blocked him, preventing contact. Song Yuan panicked, his voice begging. Yin Yin, I've been waiting for you. Divorce him. We can start over, can't we? We were about to marry. Why treat me like this? His words only nauseated me. Memories of 6 years ago replayed like a slow-motion film. Every word, every look, every despair I'd endured. Now it all felt meaningless. As if recalling something, Song Yuan hurriedly pulled a red velvet box from his pocket, opening it before me. Inside was a sparkling diamond ring. Seeing it, I flashed back to that apartment. The messy bed, the stranger's dresses in the wardrobe, the trash bin full of used condoms. That revolting past surged back, filling me with disgust. I said coldly, Song Yuan, don't you find yourself despicable? You turned me into a substitute. You said you'd only love Suyue your whole life. This ring, wasn't it on her finger once? I'm human with feelings and a heart, yet you trampled it mercilessly, and now you have the nerve to ask why I treat you this way." Song Yuan looked anguished. His eyes reddened, his voice choked as if about to cry. After a moment, he said, "Yin Yin, I was deceived by Suyue. She told me she had a terminal illness, didn't have long to live. I just wanted to be with her in her final days, so we'd have no regrets. I never meant to hurt you. What I said back then, I was just afraid friends would tell her. I only wanted you to endure it for a while." I stared at the man before me, realizing I'd never truly known him. Had I loved someone like this for 3 years? I laughed, cutting him off. "I owe you nothing, nor her. Why should I endure this?" I met his eyes, my voice icy. "Song Yuan, you said you wanted to be with her, but took her to bed too?" Song Yuan tried to speak, but before he could, a figure appeared beside him. Suyue. 6 years later, she'd changed a lot. Wrinkles creased her eyes. Her once lustrous hair was tied back messily. She wore baggy clothes, her face pale and gaunt. Yet she was still beautiful. She gripped Song Yuan's hand, her voice choked. "A yuan." I crossed my arms, coldly observing. Song Yuan stayed silent for a while, then lowered his head, carefully supporting Suyue. I laughed mockingly. Hearing my laugh, Suyue's gaze fixed on me, lingering on my jewelry, a flash of envy in her eyes. Then she lowered her head, her voice soft but pitiful. "Miss Bui, you have everything now. Can't you stop fighting for a yuan? I only have a yuan left. My child and I can't be without him." She placed a hand on her belly. I noticed her noticeably rounded stomach. She was 5 or 6 months pregnant. I looked at her bump, finding it even more amusing. Song Yuan bowed his head. Avoiding my gaze, I felt no heartache, only laughter. Was this his idea of looking for me? He still chose her. If I still loved him, this encounter would have hurt more. Thankfully, I had Shen Wen. I squeezed Shen Wen's hand, feeling his warmth. He patted my hand reassuringly, carefully tucking the marriage certificate away. Suyue watched, her eyes complex, but she feigned pity. "Miss Bui, you split me and Ayuan apart back then. Now, can't you be generous and return him to me? I know you loved Ayuan deeply, but the one he's loved from start to finish is me." Before she finished, Song Yuan snapped, "Shut up!" Suyue's face changed. She pointed at me, her tone sharp as she yelled at Song Yuan. "Song Yuan, are you going back to this vixen? Don't forget, I'm carrying your child." Onlookers stopped, some pulling out phones to record. I felt deeply embarrassed, but my biggest worry wasn't myself. It was Shen Wen. Song Yuan once criticized me, saying I embarrassed him. What about Shen Wen? As I worried, Shen Wen reached out, firmly pushing Suyue's pointing hand away. Under her shocked gaze, his voice was steady but cold. "Ma'am, please show some respect. My wife and I are married. She's a wonderful, accomplished woman, not what you claim. On the contrary, the one clinging to her is the man beside you. Also, I don't like people pointing fingers at my wife." My eyes stung at his words. Song Yuan fell silent, his gaze sorrowful, pulling Suyue away. As they left, I could still hear her muttering. When they were gone, the crowd dispersed. Shen Wen said nothing more, just held my hand, leading me into a jewelry store. He looked at my fingers, picking out several dazzling diamond rings. I laughed, touched. Shen Wen huffed, his tone proud. A tiny ring like that? Daring to show off? Pathetic. I chuckled, asking, "You're not bothered?" He replied calmly, "Why should I be? It only proves how exceptional you are that someone still can't forget you." His words warmed my heart. I recalled our marriage certificate, asking, "Why do you carry it with you?" He frowned as if it were obvious. "It's important, kept with my ID and bank card, of course." I smiled at his sharp profile. This return was for my parents' golden anniversary. At their urging, Shen Wen and I brought our child to visit. After the celebration, we'd return to California. Shen Wen, a Chinese American, had a stable job there. I taught at Stanford. I once wanted my parents to join us, but they preferred their homeland. I used to fear returning to this city, feared facing painful memories. But meeting Song Yuan again, I realized I'd truly let go. Pity Song Yuan didn't see it that way. He began lingering near my home, seeking chances to talk, but Shen Wen was always with me. Song Yuan could only watch, his eyes filled with regret and helplessness. Soon, he stopped appearing, because my parents' anniversary began. That day, I arrived early. With few guests, I sat on the sofa, waiting for more to arrive. Suddenly, a shrill voice cut through. "Why are you here?" Su Yue stood before me, her face twisted with displeasure. I raised an eyebrow, amused. Why can't I be? She sneered, her gaze contemptuous. This is a high society event in B City. Do you think you're qualified? Do you even have an invitation to barge in? I paused, then laughed and shook my head. I was here for my parents' anniversary. Why would I need an invitation? But Su Yue arrogantly raised her chin, calling security, pointing at me. How do you run this place? Letting someone without an invitation in? Back when I lived here, I avoided the spotlight. After years abroad, few recognized me. Security looked at me politely but suspiciously, asking, Miss, could you show your invitation? Before I could speak, Su Yue interjected, taunting. See, she has no invitation. Who knows why she snuck in? This place is full of VIPs. What if something happens? Can you handle it? Security's expressions shifted. They courteously moved to escort me out. I calmly said, I'm the host's daughter. Why would I need an invitation? Su Yue scoffed, her eyes mocking. You're good at pretending. Don't I know you lived off Song Yuan? You have nothing. On what grounds are you here? I smirked. True, with Song Yuan, I had no official job, but who helped him fund his first project, find staff, build connections? Now I was labeled a gold digger? As security moved to remove me, my parents appeared, stopping them. Su Yue glanced at them mockingly, sneering, Oh, always climbing the social ladder? Look, everyone wants into high society, but you need to know your place. Her contemptuous gaze fell on my parents. I caught her meaning. My parents weren't in luxury brands today, so she assumed they were poor. Their faces flushed with anger, but this time, security ignored her. They respectfully welcomed my parents and apologized to me. Su Yue panicked, shouting, What's this? They're just broke nobodies. Are you all blind? I looked at her, my voice calm but sharp. The blind one isn't them. It's you. If you'd paid attention, you'd recognize my parents on financial news channels. Su Yue, you really can't judge people. Her eyes widened in shock, staring at my parents in disbelief. Her face paled as if slapped. Long after, she shook her head frantically, muttering, Impossible, unable to accept the truth. But truth remained truth. As guests arrived, they warmly greeted my parents. Witnessing this, Su Yue finally accepted it. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed, kneeling. She pointed at me, stammering, Bu Yin tricked me. It's all her fault. My parents chuckled, their tone calm. What did our daughter trick you into? Su Yue fell silent. Just then, Song Yuan rushed in, seeing her kneeling and crying, his face full of panic. I said calmly, You're finally here. She's pregnant, won't get up. We don't know what else to do but let her kneel. My parents stood by, faces composed, almost cold. Song Yuan's face whitened. He clenched his fists, helping Su Yue up, bowing apologetically. Chairman Bui, Mrs. Bui, Yue's immature. Please don't hold it against her. But my father cut him off coldly. We don't have time to retaliate for how you treated our daughter. We just see no need. Stay away from us from now on. My father's words were a verdict. Song Yuan's face turned ashen. No one cared about them anymore. 2 months later, 2 days before returning to California, Song Yuan asked to meet. Recalling his recent actions, I sighed but decided to see him one last time. We met at a cafe. In just 2 months, he looked haggard. Seeing me, he said immediately, The baby in Su Yue's womb isn't mine. I stayed silent, watching him. Song Yuan smiled bitterly, continuing, Yin Yin, since you left, I never stopped missing you. I admit I brought her to our apartment. But we were both drunk. It was a mistake. Just that once, I swear. After you left, I realized she deceived me. She said she couldn't forget me, clung to me relentlessly. I really searched for you all these years. But recently she reappeared. We drank again, and I messed up once more. I looked at him, my voice steady. So what do you want from me? His words didn't sway me. 6 years ago or now, it was long over. I glanced out, meeting Shen Wen's worried eyes. He stood nearby, watching me. Catching my gaze, he smiled brightly. I smiled back. Song Yuan saw this, his eyes darkening. After a long silence, he rasped, He treats you well, doesn't he? I rested my chin on my hand, recalling meeting Shen Wen. It was when I first arrived in California. My wallet was stolen at the airport. Confused on the street, Shen Wen paid for my taxi. He didn't offer to join or pry. His gesture eased my panic. Later, at a university gala, I saw him again. In a tailcoat, he spotted me instantly. He didn't ask for the money back, just said, Buy me a coffee sometime. My heart still bore Song Yuan's scars. I didn't exchange contacts, never imagining he'd enter my life. But Shen Wen kept appearing. The reason was simple. He was my senior, under the same professor. We exchanged contacts. Our talks stayed academic. He never pursued me like Song Yuan, never showed off. He was dry, straightforward, simple. Life in a foreign land was never easy. My first year in California, my parents visited for Lunar New Year. After, work called them back. Watching them disappear at security, I felt a bitter pang. As tears welled, a hot sweet potato appeared before me. I looked up at Shen Wen's familiar face. He smiled gently. He didn't wipe my tears or offer empty comfort, just led me to an observatory, stargazing all night. That night, I realized our shared interests. We grew closer, our bond deepening. But Shen Wen didn't rush. He waited until he was sure I'd let go of the past. On my third birthday in California, he took me stargazing again. At dawn, light filling the room, he softly said, "I love you." In our relationship, he always initiated. He never demanded, never expected instant reciprocation. Mostly, he was a guide, patient and protective. I knew he loved me, and he knew I loved him. That was enough. When I came to, Song Yuan had left. On the table was a bank card and a note. It read a number and 3 words, "I'm sorry." 1 year later, our next return was to bring my parents to California for retirement. They finally agreed. B City had changed much. Shen Wen suddenly asked, "Want to stay in China? I just applied to transfer here." I stared, shocked. He smiled. "You grew up here. I feel you're not truly happy in California. We could split time. Half a year here, half there." Just then, our son tugged my hand, whining for candied hawthorns. The vendor approached. Seeing me, he bowed low. I bought 2 sticks, gently prompting, "Son, what do you say?" He mumbled, "Thank you, sir." I smiled, placing the old bank card from Song Yuan on the counter. As we left, I heard a faint, "Thank you." One day in B City, I ran into Su Yue again. She was unrecognizable, her face stiff from Botox, a fake smile, subservient beside a fat, middle-aged man. She saw me, but her eyes held no envy, only deep helplessness. I didn't stop, sparing her no further glance, because Shen Wen called. He frowned, chiding but lovingly, "Control our son. He's begging for candy again." I laughed, hurrying to my family. The sun behind me shone brilliantly. Step by step, I left the abyss of the past. Step by step, I walked toward my own happiness.